Some gems were born to be warriors, some to be tacticians, but pearls were made to reflect someone else entirely. They are accessories, decorations, status symbols with a voice. Pearls exist for their masters. Although I can't say if this extends to every gem-pearl dynamic, but at least with the diamonds, we see that they share the same placements, the same color palettes and complementing outfits as well. But why is that? Gem placement shapes everything. Personality, thinking patterns, temperament. Every decision flows from this core influence. The shared placement between servant and master creates perfect compatibility by design. A diamond guided by cold, calculating logic cannot function with a pearl who views existence through wonder and emotion. The system demands harmony. Forehead gems, the thinkers, pair with forehead gems. Communication flows without friction when the pearl inherently understands her master's mental framework. The diamond's thoughts become the pearl's thought, processed through the same cognitive lens, ensuring seamless execution of every command. The diamonds didn't just want obedient servants, they created psychological copies. The pearl's mind mirrors her diamonds so completely that questioning orders becomes impossible. She doesn't even want to rebel because her thoughts align with her master's. This manufactured compatibility eliminates the chaos of mismatched personalities. This isn't to say that without matched placements, pearls won't obey their masters. They will regardless, but the matched placements is what yields a seamless communication. The pearl doesn't struggle to interpret her master's intentions because they emerge from the same fundamental mindset. She anticipates needs, responds instinctively, and serves without the friction that would arise from conflicting ways of processing the world. The diamonds didn't create this system by accident. They crafted pearls to be perfect mirrors, not just in appearance, but in the very architecture of thought itself. Since pearls sharing placements with their masters bring compatibility, does this mean shared gem placements would always get along? Not at all. Here's the thing, shared placement only works with hierarchy. We see Pearl and Peridot fight over who the better technician is. Both have forehead gems, both think analytically, yet they clash.
Believed all life was precious and worth protecting.
Well, if she wanted to protect it, she did a lousy job. There'd be no cluster if the Earth had stayed a colony. Now there's no colony, and there's gonna be no Earth, so thank you, Rose Quartz. You doomed the planet.
Same with blue and yellow diamond, both chess gems, but they don't always see eye to eye. Where blue drowns in emotion and sentimentality, yellow has a more rigid framework. The difference is equality. Pearl sees Peridot as an equal. Blue and yellow see each other as equals. When there's no master-servant dynamic, those shared traits may become problems instead of solutions. Each expects the other to think exactly like them. When they don't, fights break out. Blue diamond's chess gem makes her deeply empathetic.
Well, I'm convinced. Time to execute!
Not yet. The defense still has to speak.
Right, well,
Her powers literally force others to feel her emotions. Yellow's chess gem creates explosive outbursts and emotional intensity she can barely control. Same placement, totally different expressions. Blue pearl mirrors blue diamond's melancholy perfectly. Yellow pearl reflects yellow diamond's rigid intensity exactly. Same chess placement between the pearls, different personalities, because they were designed to copy their specific diamond style. Pearls don't just share their master's gem location, they're programmed to express that placement in exactly the same way their diamond does. Perfect servants through perfect replication. Yellow pearl has her gem on her chest, just like her diamond. As we've discussed, the symmetry is intentional. Her posture is pristine, her tone sharp, every word snapped like a salute. She mirrors yellow diamond's utilitarian presence. Always upright, always ready to bark orders on someone else's behalf. Even her aesthetic is geometric and uniform, a clean echo of yellow's vision of order. She acts as the mouthpiece of force and function. Then there's blue pearl, whose gem rests over her chest as well. But unlike yellow pearl's rigid stance, blue pearl carries quiet. She's subdued, soft-spoken, nearly invisible in a room. She reflects blue diamond's outward elegance. She absorbs her sorrow. Her gaze is low, her voice barely a whisper, her entire being built to stand in stillness beside grief. Her gem placement makes her more reverent than commanding, a vessel for memory, for silence, for tears. Here's where the symbolism becomes even more fascinating. Our pearl, the one we follow throughout the series, has her gem on her forehead, the seat of intellect, clarity, and control. Yet she belongs to pink diamond, whose gem sits on her navel. Meanwhile, pink pearl carries her gem on her navel, but belongs to white diamond, whose gem rests on her forehead. This placement paradox sparked one of the fandom's most compelling theories, that our pearl originally served white diamond, while pink pearl belonged to Pink Diamond before being seized by White as punishment and disfigured in the process. Half of this theory proved true. Pink Pearl, commonly Volleyball by Stephen, did indeed belong to Pink Diamond initially and was taken by White as punishment. But the crack marring her face, that wasn't White's doing. It was Pink herself in one of her explosive tantrums.
How could White be so careless?
Oh no, Pearl, you've got it all wrong. Pink did this.
What did you say?
Pearl, no.
It's a funny story, really. Once Pink got tired of asking Yellow and Blue for her own colony, so she went straight to White. Of course, White told her she wasn't fit to run one, and well, that set her off.
The theory about our Pearl's origins, however, was debunked by Rebecca Sugar herself.
Was Pearl made for our Pink, or did she belong to White? Dun dun dun.
Our Pearl never belonged to White, but White is involved in the creation of pearls in general. So there is a connection, and that's all I can really say at the moment about that.
Hashtag no spoilers.
Pearl never belonged to White Diamond. She was created for Pink Diamond and was always Pink's Pearl. What makes perfect sense is White Diamond's strategic thinking behind this choice. She deliberately gave Pink a pearl with a forehead placement, a thinker, someone refined and analytical. White wanted Pink surrounded by gems who would force responsibility upon her, not the playful, heart-centered gems that enabled her childish tendencies. Pearl was meant to be Pink's intellectual anchor, preventing her court from devolving into a circus. The fundamental incompatibility between Pink and Pearl becomes immediately apparent in their early interactions. When Pink rhetorically mused about playing in the kindergarten with her subjects, asking Pearl if she could imagine it, Pearl interpreted this as a literal command. A perfect example of how their different gem placements created communication barriers. Had Pink Pearl stood beside her on that throne, the subtext would have been understood instantly. Pink was pure spontaneity and fun. Pearl embodied rigidity and duty. Yet Pearl's programming ran deeper than her forehead gem's analytical nature. Her devotion to her diamond superseded everything. When Pink expressed longing to laugh and play with the amethyst below, Pearl did what forehead gems do best. She analysed the problem and brainstormed a solution, an idea that would change everything.
And those who fought to save it became known as the Crystal Gems.
White Diamond's plan was calculated. Pink consistently surrounded herself with tactile, playful gems with heart, who enabled her immaturity. To earn her own colony, Pink needed to project maturity to the other diamonds.
I want a colony! I want one now! You have so many worlds and I don't even have one. It's not fair! I want one! I want my own army! I want my own planet! I deserve it! I'm just as important as you!
Then why don't you act like it, Pink?
She had to prove her readiness for such responsibility, so she tried desperately to maintain that facade of seriousness. She abandoned Spinel in the garden because she couldn't have her bouncing around during crucial moments of diplomacy. She even accepted the pearl reassignment without protest.
She's going to take away your pearl.
I know. I'm sorry.
Why do you always do this?
But facades crumble. Pink's disciplined exterior dissolved almost immediately, her true nature reasserting itself with unstoppable force. Yet something profound occurred in their dynamic. They left indelible marks on each other. Pink became more strategic, though not in the way White had envisioned. She conceived the plan to fake her own shattering, developed war strategies so ruthless that even Jasper praised their cunning.
I was there, you know. At the first war for this garbage planet. I fought against your armies. I respected your tactics.
Pearl, meanwhile, learned to embrace spontaneity and emotional depth, becoming someone who could both analyze and feel, think, and play.
Could you imagine that running a colony would be this dull?
I could imagine it, if you would like me to, my diamond. I need to be replaced immediately.
No!
But I've been imagining things, even when you haven't asked me to. I imagined that I ran away and met you here on Earth. A rose quartz.
And I'm not yours, but I make you so happy anyway. Isn't that ridiculous? Tell me to stop.
Please don't ever stop.
White Diamond's plan succeeded, just not as intended. She wanted to create a responsible ruler, but instead helped birth a revolutionary who would ultimately challenge the very foundations of gem society itself. The Steven Universe Future episode, Volleyball, addressed something the series desperately needed to explore: the complex relationship between two pearls who served radically different versions of the same diamond. Beneath their polite interactions simmered passive aggression and unspoken competition, each silently believing, "My diamond liked me better." Both had been abandoned by Pink Diamond under different circumstances. They both carried profound trauma alongside immense love for her. Each represented a facet of Pink Diamond completely unknown to the other. This dynamic mirrors a family where siblings experience entirely different versions of the same parent. Picture a violent, alcoholic father terrorizing his firstborn, then completely transforming before his second child arrives, becoming the ideal parent. The firstborn feels cheated and suspicious of this sudden change, while the younger sibling cannot even comprehend their sibling's experiences because they never witnessed that destructive side. Pink Diamond's relationship with Pink Pearl revolved around playfulness, frivolity, and superficial gifts, beautiful trinkets and carefree moments. Her bond with our Pearl carried the weight of duty, life-altering sacrifice, and rebellion where life and death hung in the balance. They inhabited completely different worlds in Pink Diamond's story. The episode proved crucial for revealing Volleyball's personality after millennia of White Diamond's mental manipulation. After such devastating trauma, you'd expect fury, bitterness, profound psychological damage. Instead, she remained cheerfully optimistic, finding beauty in simple moments around her. This reaction directly connects to her gem placement, that childlike wonder and empathetic love emanating from her core. Imagine Lapis Lazuli enduring the same treatment. The trauma would have consumed her entirely. When circumstances forced both pearls to confront their unhealed wounds, they form Megapearl, a fusion bearing gem placements on both forehead and navel. This combination mirrors Rainbow 2.0's protective, parental energy. The strategic thinking of the forehead merged with the nurturing care of the navel. She demonstrates this perfectly when she wordlessly throws Steven to deactivate the security system. Quick analytical thinking paired with protective instinct. Mother of Pearl would have been the perfect name for this fusion. In nature, Mother of Pearl creates the lustrous inner layer of mollusk shells, serving both beauty and protection, shielding the creature's vulnerable tissues from irritants. This protective function aligns beautifully with the navel placement's symbolism, while Mother captures the nurturing essence of their combined placements. Royal Pearl would have worked equally well, honoring both Pearl's diamond heritage while reflecting her regal, guard-like presence and crown. Their fusion finally granted them complete understanding of Pink Diamond's true nature. Where each pearl had previously seen only one side of the coin, Megapearl provided the bird's eye view they both desperately needed to heal and move forward. Now let's zoom out. The diamonds, their gem placements don't just mark who they are, they reveal where they stand in a hierarchy literally carved into their bodies. White Diamond wears her gem on her forehead. She is the mind, the all-seeing eye perched above everything else. She doesn't look up to anyone because she is the summit, controlling and surveying all beneath her. It's a throne placement, commanding from heights so elevated they're barely reachable. Yellow and blue both have their gems centered on their chests, same level with different planes of command. Blue governs the aristocratic sphere, yellow commands the military, but they stand parallel, executives of the empire. They are the left and right arms of Diamond authority, extending White's will across the galaxy. I know I once explored whether blue outranks yellow, just to spark a bit of controversy, but my final verdict is, as I just said, they are equal in rank, but have different functions. Pink Diamond bears her gem at the navel, the lowest point on the diamond body. She wasn't meant to lead as an equal. Her colony was a consolation prize, a glorified playroom. Her placement screams dependency, the umbilical cord connecting a child still tethered to the system, never trusted to walk independently. This physical structure, white on top, yellow and blue flanking pink at the bottom, forms symbolic architecture. Even their spaceships reflect this hierarchy. White's ship forms the head and torso, yellow and blue's vessels become the arms, while Pink's ship creates the legs, the foundation that carries everyone else. yet receives the least recognition. When you visualize it as a body, the metaphor becomes unmistakable. White diamond is the mind, the crown chakra, commander of thoughts, decisions, absolute authority. Yellow diamond is the body, raw strength, labor, relentless execution. Blue diamond is the soul, the keeper of all feeling, grief and joy alike, memory and anticipation. She holds the emotional depth that gives meaning to existence, processing the full spectrum of what it means to truly feel. Pink diamond is the heart, not anatomical, but symbolic, the core essence of being, fragile, pulsing with untapped potential, bursting with desire and rebellion, yet perpetually overlooked in favor of what towers above. Together they form divine anatomy, a governing force of Homeworld, a connection between heart and mind, body and soul. Perhaps that's precisely why their empire crumbled. You cannot build a healthy being when the heart gets dismissed, the mind refuses to listen, the soul weeps endlessly, and the body works itself to exhaustion. In the end, it was the part they valued least, the heart, that birthed something entirely new. Let's examine another tier of high-ranking gems, the Garnets. Garnets command fleets and colonies across Homeworld's empire. While never physically appearing in the main series, Hessonite was illustrated by Nephrite in Monster Reunion, and Demantoids and Pyropes were mentioned by Blue Diamond in Together Alone.
To meet her height requirements, the sapphire will need to enter with the other sapphires, of course, and the ruby will need to enter with the guard.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Are you talking about Garnet?
Garnet? Does that call herself a Garnet? What would you have her do? Enter with the Demantoids, the Hessonites, the Pyropes? Pink, I'm being very generous, but you can't expect me to.
I won't go.
Garnet?
These Garnets appeared prominently in the games, each embodying the behavioral patterns we've established for their respective gem placements. Demantoid carries her gem on her forehead, the analytical placement we've come to recognize. True to form, she operates with robotic precision and business-like efficiency, rarely displaying emotions. She speaks in calculated, measured tones and grows exasperated by others' emotional proclamations. When anger does surface, it transforms her completely, revealing the fierce intensity that forehead gems can unleash when their logical frameworks are threatened. Her belief that older gems created problems while newer gems must solve them reflects the strategic, forward-thinking nature of her placement, always analyzing, always planning the next logical step. Hessonite bears her gem on her chest, the seat of emotion and pride. Her pompous, aggressive demeanor when opposed showcases the chest gem's tendency toward emotional leadership. She commands through force of personality, treating those beneath her as tools while radiating an imperious sense of superiority. Her quick temper and reactive nature when facing opposition demonstrate how chest gems lead with their hearts, whether in passionate devotion or devastating fury. Beneath her commanding exterior lies deep insecurity. She admits to feeling defective, trapped by Homeworld's impossible standards. This vulnerability reveals the chest gem's capacity for profound emotional depth, even when masked by bravado. Pyrope has her gem on her navel, the placement of innocence and naivety we've explored. Her cheerful yet snobbish personality reflects the childlike nature of navel gems, combined with the feminine grace typical of this placement. She's easily distracted, abandoning tasks when something shinier catches her attention. Classic navel gem behavior driven by immediate desires rather than long-term planning. Her obliviousness to obvious information, like Hessonite's alliance with the crystal gems, showcases the naive nature of her placement. Her firm belief that all gems need rulers stems from the navel gem's inherent dependency, the umbilical cord mentality that craves guidance and structure. Each garnet demonstrates how gem placement transcends mere rank or function. It shapes the very core of their being. The calculated forehead strategist, the passionate chest commander, and the dependent navel follower all operate within their empire's hierarchy, yet remain bound by the fundamental nature carved into their bodies. Are gems aware of what their placements mean? Do they understand the symbolism we've been exploring? The short answer, not exactly. Not in the metaphorical, philosophical way we interpret it. The longer answer reveals something more nuanced. Gems seem functionally aware of what their placements mean for role and identity. They don't deliver monologues about symbolism, no Garnet speeches about hands representing self-acceptance, but they act like their placements are integral to who they are. Garnet never declares, "My gems are in my palms because I learned to accept myself," but visually and symbolically, her hands became her source of strength. By embracing her identity as a fusion, choosing herself, she summons her gauntlets from those very palms. She fights with her acceptance. Gems likely possess intuitive awareness of their placement's influence, just not in the philosophical terms we assign them. On Homeworld, there's probably systematic awareness of placements, but purely for utility, function, and hierarchy. The diamonds, or their scientist, likely designed gem types with specific placements for strategic purposes, head placements for technicians who need analytical thinking, pearls modelled after their diamonds to reflect loyalty and compatibility, gems with eye placements for piloting and navigation. But these gems don't sit around discussing symbolism. It's like how we're affected by body language or personality traits we've never consciously analysed. We live them before we define them. Fusions feel their placements most acutely. They experience the internal push and pull between the meanings of their combined gems. The more mismatched or emotionally unresolved the components, the more unstable the fusion becomes. Lapis doesn't need to explain what the back means. She lives it. Gems might not speak our language of metaphor, but through behaviour, power and personality, they reveal that their placements aren't ornamentation. They're embodiment. The symbols might be invisible to them, but they're carved into every choice they make. This symbolic beauty of Steven Universe opens a door for creators and fans to step through. If you're designing your own gem OC or building narratives in this world, you're not just picking a colour and rock type. You're designing a being whose entire sense of identity, emotional landscape and fusion potential can be deeply informed by where that gem sits on their body. Ask yourself, what does that placement say about them? What do they protect or hide? Is their gem displayed proudly or tucked somewhere vulnerable? What do they see when they look at themselves? Picture designing a gem with a throat gem, someone built for expression, communication, truth. But what if that same gem hates speaking up? You've created compelling tension, a character whose placement demands voice, yet whose past has taught them silence. Or imagine your character bears a gem on the sole of their foot. Do they carry the world's weight? Are they running from something? Is their purpose movement itself, to travel, to escape, to leave everything behind? This approach transcends storytelling and becomes soul crafting. You're building characters from the inside out, using the visual language Steven Universe gifted us, where emotion, memory, and form fuse into something entirely unique. Every gem placement carries the potential to tell a story before your character speaks a single word. Creators, artists, writers, animators, lean into this power. Let gem placement be more than aesthetic choice. Let it shape how your gem moves through the world, reflecting their wounds, their strength, their deepest purpose. Speaking of creation, it's time to feature the winners of our Gem OC contest. First, thank you to everyone who submitted entries and brought life to the Gem OC submissions channel. Thank you to my mods who held everything down while med school was kicking my ass. Thoroughly enjoyed reviewing each submission. Because of your ability to create, to tell vivid stories, to bring art to life, you're all winners in my book. I picked my top 10 favourites from the Gem OC contest based on the art itself, the lore and symbolism of the placement given, the creativity, adherence to the rules, and how much it appealed to me. I'll be uploading the art and the write-ups they submitted with it. In 10th, a submission by the Hidden Hand. Okay, so I just watched the newest gem placement video and flocked to this server and just wanted to submit my OC. This is Labradorite, and her gem is on her chest, symbolizing an emotional vulnerability and openness. In Era 1, she was an assassin for the diamonds and was severely depressed due to her deep empathy. She was corrupted throughout Era 2, but by Era 3, she was uncorrupted and has since begun exploring the arts and other forms of creative expression. She still enjoys a scuffle every now and then, but now in the form of friendly sparring rather than all-out assassination. 9th, submitted by Chero. So this is Moonstone. She's an OC I made for a little story with my friends. She's my silly gal and I love her. About the gem placement. The gem covers both an eye and mouth, making her mute. I sort of went with the idea of a silent witness, not being able to speak up to her peers. She did her duties as the gem she was intended to be, but she was deemed defective after a while. She was a witness to many horrors which she can't tell of, neither vocal nor by other means. The arc I'd have for her was for her to overcome that issue in other ways that aren't verbal, like writing. 8 by Space Cadet. I didn't realise so many people had Azurite OCs throwing mine in the ring then, lol. Kindergarten technicians typically manage a gem's development until it erupts from the earth, but I thought, who manages them afterward? To that end, Azurite here is essentially a reverse therapist. She takes in gems who have a history of being resistant to rejuvenation and manually corrects their personality faults through gaslighting and emotional manipulation. She is in tune with the emotions of others, as is typical of a chess placement, which makes her especially good at digging into a gem's insecurities. She is extremely prideful of herself and her work as well, literally wearing her gem as a badge of honor. She is, however, insecure of her imperfections, as the flecks of malachite in her gem are technically considered a defect. This makes her gem placement also serve a point of extreme vulnerability, not just dead center on her chest, but directly over her heart. 7th, by A.V. Bryan. I'm not an artist, so this is commissioned art of my gem. The artist is SpicyArt_, and I did get their permission to use it for this submission. But for the gem herself, she is black onyx. Her chest placement is actually meant to subvert the usual emotional connotations, as she tends to be quite emotionless. The aesthetic idea is that since her gem is solid black and smooth, it can appear like she has a hole in her chest, an empty space where her heart should be. This is actually a response to her feeling too much. Events in her past and the resulting trauma led her to swallow up all her feelings, cutting them off until only numbness and cold logic remained. For abilities, I was thinking that since black is the absence of light and gems are projections of light, onyxes were made to subdue other gems in the days before destabilizers and such were made. They do this by absorbing and disrupting the light projected by other gems. In 6th, CBR, here is mine. Citrine is the left and Ametroin is on the right. The shoulder placement represents strength. It's a symbol of a gem who values power over everything else, and for Ametrine, this idea stays the same, not only physically, but emotionally. While not as physically strong as her fellow Citrines, her loyalty and resolve are hard to contest, often putting herself in the front lines of a conflict, whether it be heated debate between pals or on the battlegrounds of war. This stoicism is not to be confused with patience, something that requires empathy and consideration, something that would only be met with the cold shoulder should you try to console her feelings about practically anything. Ametroin is reliable, she's there when you need her and won't get in your way otherwise, but she's not there for comfort or companionship. She's there for purpose. Citrine is something more expected of a shoulder arm placement, someone who thinks with their power and raw strength over analysis and deep thought. That kind of simplistic mindset also tends to be quite stubborn. Rather than putting it to discussion or debate, Citrine reflects her gem's durability and placement through her sheer tenacity. Because if what she's good at won't break through, then it's simply a problem that can't be solved. 5th, Lulu. This is Bloodstone, my son. He's from a gem type that looks vastly different to what he does, as they are an executioner gem type. They often do shatterings for the Great Diamond Authority, yet this one didn't come out quite right. He's overcooked due to his kindergarten's faulty production, and the other Bloodstones around him stealing all the resources available for him to be able to complete his creation, causing him to come out defective. His main defect is being unable to communicate in the same ways other gems would, only being able to create noises. Because he's a highly destructive gem, unable to fulfill his purpose, the neck placement is perfect, as it symbolizes the bridge between action and thought, as he has the instincts to destroy, but is incapable of doing so. And it's historically the place where most executions were done. The neck is one of the most vulnerable places on the body, and that encapsulates him perfectly. Vulnerable. Also, his gem being small and placed on a space with little surface area symbolizes the conditions of his emergence. 4th, Lud. This is my gem OC Tiger's Eye. First off, her lore. In my headcanon, Tiger's eyes are cuts of gems that are no longer made and have not been made since early Era 1, something that does happen as Yellow mentioned. They stopped producing the cut rose quartz after her betrayal. Tiger's eyes were soldiers, notorious for their undying loyalty and fierceness. The Tiger's eyes were sworn to their duty and would abandon it for nothing, even when opposition would come to destroy them, leading to them often letting themselves get shattered in the line of duty. This was a huge flaw of their cut and caused their production to stop. This specific Tiger's Eye guards a treasury in a long-forgotten planet nearby Homeworld. She is one of the only Tiger's Eyes left and was a guard of pink diamonds, but with Pink Diamond nowhere to give her new orders, she has refused any orders to leave the treasury. Aside from the pun, I placed the gem on her eye because from a design standpoint it makes for a very intense, intimidating look. The gem on the eye could also refer to a watchful guard, someone who has to have great judgment on characters, as she needs to be able to distinguish who to let in and who to deny. She is very stubborn. An eyeball in the show was also very stubborn and ever loyal to the diamonds. Tiger's Eye shares those traits. 3rd, Barnaby B. This is less of an OC and more of a self-insert character. She's a green sapphire, off color. Her gem is on her throat. Unlike Zircon's, mine represents the heart in my throat, saying, I struggle with social anxiety, and for some time I wouldn't speak. I was so worried I would say the wrong thing, so the placement represents that aspect of myself. A gem caught in my throat. Another way I represent my shyness is with the turtleneck she wears, which hides a good portion of her gem. I am someone who feels things very intensely, hence it being close to my chest. Also, I imagined the future visions that sapphires have to represent me worrying over all the possible scenarios in which something could go wrong. Other than that, her hair and clothes are just based on what mine looks like, and my favourite colour is green. Thanks for reading second, North Noir. Star Sapphire. I have no idea how to fit her in SU lore, but she's highly inspired from Padparadsha, so maybe they could be friends. They both have the same gem placement, their gems both being on top of their right hands. She was a defective sapphire whose vision sight makes her end up seeing into the past, things that have already happened, but she was very determined to use it for something good, realizing that becoming a detective, crime scene investigator is really useful for her in the long run, as the past can get muddled with countless recountings from witnesses. She's an insightful gem who manages to make her ability into something special and useful, being able to withstand high-pressure situations, but she prefers to work alone and can sometimes prefer to use the facts as they are in her past vision rather than listen to others' perspectives, so she could become stubborn and get tunnel vision from her ability easily. In first place, Luno 505. The red gem is Rhodolite and the pale one is a black pearl. Rhodolite's gem is on top of her head, invoking the crown chakra, conveying wisdom and intelligence. Crown chakra is also the center of spirituality, which doesn't fit her. She's a worldly character, someone obsessed with status, much like someone whose crown chakra is blocked. I didn't want to give her a forehead gem because forehead gems are often technical and less interpersonally savvy. This is a manipulator, think politician, and less roboticist. Pearl's gem is on the back of her hand to literally convey backhandedness and deceit, invoking imagery of a puppet master. Her gem is also specifically on her right arm, suiting her right-hand man status. I like to imagine her weapon is a knife. I like to imagine that when Era 3 happened, Rhodolite cut contact from Homeworld, fully embracing the diamond-level authority it gave her. In between Steven Universe and Steven Universe Future, I think she and her Pearl would have been villains. Ultimately, these are two manipulators who enjoy the chaos of their relationship, who stays together, not because it makes them happy, but because it is familiar. Their fusion would be Malachite-level toxic. Once again, thank you to all the amazing artists that participated in this contest. Go join the Discord, because there would definitely be more in the future, and not even just Steven Universe based ones. If you were a gem, where would your gem placement hypothetically be, and why? Leave your answer in the comments. Me personally, I'd be a permafusion with head, chest and back placements. The head because I'm constantly analysing and strategizing, overthinking and getting lost in thought. The chest because I have a tendency to lead with emotions, although I try to mask it. The back because I've been through experiences that scarred me, and I struggle to move past those things. Probably an eye placement as well, since I can peep bullshit from a mile away. Let's play a little game to see if you've truly understood gem placement. We'll examine characters from different shows and you tell me where their gem placements would hypothetically be. How did you do? We've finally come to the end of the gem placement series. It feels like the end of an era. Why am I getting emotional? That darn chest placement. I started this series because I had questions of my own. I did a bit of research and rewatching and got mind blown and just had to share it with you guys. Thank you to everyone who actively supported the series and my channel as a whole, even the non-Steven Universe videos that don't have that strong of a fan base. But some of you guys support it anyway, just because, you know, my passion to analyse shows cuts across things beyond Steven Universe. I hope this series changed your life as much as it changed mine. This may be the finale, but there's always room for a revamp if new information surfaces. Especially since the series is returning, I'll be releasing a version with all the parts joined into one video for those who want to watch it all as one video. Leave a like, subscribe, drop your thoughts below, turn on post notifications so you don't miss a single video. If you want to take it a step further, you can directly support the channel by becoming a member, link in description. Thank you for 20,000 subscribers, and as always, see you in the next one.
If I could begin to be half of what you think of me, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love. And when I see the way you act, wondering when I'm coming back, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love like you. I always thought I might be bad, now I'm sure that it's true.